Well, hi everyone. Welcome to the SaaS community stand-up for June. We make it this far, and even though it's been a strange year for everyone, I hope that everyone is safe at home. Today's topic is about SaaS tips and tricks. Some of them will include basically XPO also because we consider XPO a part of SaaS. And this is the tentative agenda for today. Uh, the introduction at this moment is only Javier and I that we will be in the show. Then some announcements that we will put that um, in the last part, and then we will do some technical demonstration. And feel free to open your mic for questions or write anything in the chat. So since I'm the first one today, we have one more guest. We will start doing a small demonstration about how to extend the XPO classes. This, I think, will work also with the Entity Framework. Entity Framework is not the main ORM that we use. Most of our projects are XPO, actually. So anyway, let's start with that. So let me open the studio. And okay, so the idea of this example is a lot of times we have the need to extend our model in runtime. There are several ways that you can do this, depending on how you're seeing it. You can do it like by XPO without doing anything in SaaS, or by SaaS infrastructure. So in this case, I'm going to show the SaaS way, even though I know that in some of the other meetups before, I have showed the XPO way. So in this case, we're going to use the type infrastructure from XAFers. So, okay, this is one of the most common questions, like how can I add properties in runtime? There are several ways to do that. And here I have the information for that, like the link. This is the example that we're going to do, even though today I find out that there's a new way to do it, but we will not cover this here. So, okay, the first thing that you need to understand is that this is called how to extend the persistent objects in runtime, but there is only one moment during the runtime that you can do that. So how SAF works, you need to have all the persistent types already created. So there will be a model. So there will be a model that will create the views and everything on top of the ORM model. So before that happens is the moment where you can start and extend the objects. After that, first you cannot do it because there is a thread safe data layer that will not allow you to modify the objects. And also, even if you manage to do it, because I think expand do something like that, you will need to recreate the model information from SAF. So let's start with this. So let me show you the persistent objects that I have here. I have these that I will use as an example. So if you can see this, there is only one property. There is nothing extra. So the way to do that in SAF is in the module where your type is defined, and it can be even an external type defined in another assembly. What you should do is actually something like this. So let's go here. And there is a method called customize types info. So in here, you have the type infrastructure that belongs to SAF. With this object, you can basically extend everything related to the persistent types, being that XPO or Entity Framework. With Entity Framework, it's a little bit different. So I will show like the XPO way at the moment. Let's go and open this method. So this is relatively actually a little bit simple. So the first thing that you need to do is find the type info. The type info, you can find it in two different ways. You can find it by full type name, which is a string like complete with assembly name, or with the type class. But in this case, I wanted to do it with the name in a string for one reason. Sometimes you don't have reference to the type. You load it by reflection or something like that. So I like to show that you don't have to have the type class to do this. And there is also one more thing. This will actually return this method, will return an I type info. But in this case, what we're going to do is cast to type info. This is this will expose more methods than the interface. So that's why I casted to this. So let's see. Let's run this. And I will stop here and show the members and then create the new members. In this case, for this class, there's only one property defined in code. And in the end, I will have two more properties, last name and age. As you can see, I add the property with the name, the type. This can even be another persistent type. And you can add attributes, for example, after you get the member, basically. Because here, you will get member. You will get the metadata for that member that we just created. So you can continue extending this, for example, adding validations, adding attributes, adding whatever you want, you can basically do it with this information. And in the end, I will add a calculated member. So I'm adding full name. It will be a string, and this will be the expression that's going to be evaluated. So let's run this and let's see how it works. Okay, so first let's check the class info. Let's do a quick watch of this. And let's find the members. I don't see it in here. Key member, it's not that one. Here, all members. So we have the name, the property, we have the private field, then we have the optimistic log that is part of the object, even though you cannot see it, is like the optimistic log for the session, and the GC record in the end. All of these, like only this one is defined. Everything else is like a service infrastructure. So what we're going to do here is like, let's define the members. So here we watch this. You can even add the size attribute also, for example, to make it bigger. We can continue extended these members that we just created with this object. But let's go to all of the other ones. So let's log in. I think I pressed like continue in the keyboard, so we didn't see the other one. So basically, let me close all of this. Now, as you can see, here I have name, last name, age, and full name. So since what I added for the expression of full name, I didn't add the space, that's why it's showing us a single string. But for example, I will add my second last name because in the Spanish way we have two last names. So, Melgar. I will save this and see, it's even calculating the value. So these are not defined in design time, they are defined in runtime. So these properties will be available all over the system, also in the model. For example, if you open the model here, you will see that that member is defined because we did it before the SAF infrastructure was starting. So now we have like a second problem, like, okay, we were able to create a member or a property in runtime, then how do we use it in other places? So let's go back to code. And here I have a controller for that. So let's come here and here, and let's see this one. So there will be a moment that you will need to either get or set that on code. In the UI, as you can see, the property items were there, nothing to do actually. But what will happen when you need to do it by code? So in here it's like kind of easy. If you see, you just in whatever view you are, you get the current object, you cast it as the type as you wanted. Then this line is basically SAF because you can do it also in an XPO way. And you find the type information. Once you have this, you can say something like, to the info, find member, the member that we want to find is full name, and then the member, it has a property get value. And then you need to pass the instance of the object where you want to get that value. You have both methods here, get value, and you have also another set value. So basically, since there is no way to reference that property in code because it was not defined before, you cannot do like dot full name. This is the only way that you have to get that information. Or if you attach a visual control like a grid, for example, the property will also show because it will return a metadata that will include that part. So if I come here, I open this object and get full name, it will show that see Joche Ojeda Melgar. So even when the property was not defined in code, you can set the values in the UI and you can get and set the values actually in code. So it's really useful, but you need to do it at one moment, which is when the application is being set up. Just to give you a small advice, because we have this in other cases, since you have this method, the customize types info, sometimes you can have another external application where you get information about the business types and then you create a UI or whatever thing to extend it. Then you read that information in here. Maybe you can save that information in a database or a file or whatever. And then you execute it in this method. That will extend the object. But those customizations need to be run all the time, because what will happen if I remove this? So if I run this, when SAF compile and try to start, it will not see those members. So what I'm trying to say is that the code that we execute in here is not changing your assemblies to add more information to it. Basically, everything is happening in memory. So whatever changes you have done, you need to keep running them all the time. See, now I mean, you cannot see the other properties, either age or full name. And this, of course, will throw an error. So if you're extending your application with a file or some more information from an external database, you need to remember that you will need to continue running that all the time. Like in every application startup, you need to do that. So if you added like, let's say like 300 properties to different objects, on the startup, you always have to do the same. Otherwise, it will not be visible for SAF. But it doesn't mean that if you don't run them, that will disappear from the tables. They will still be on the tables, but you need to run these all the time. If not, staff will not see that they are there. And every code that you have, like by get or set members, will fail actually. So you can only do like small customization. I will suggest this to, for example, you have an invoice class and you want to add extra properties, then you add 3 or 4 properties like this, and good enough. Don't create your whole model in runtime because it will take time in the startup of the application. Okay, well, that was the first demo. If there is any question or something, you can write in the chat or just unmute your microphone, and questions are welcome always. And if not, we're going to do a second demo. So let me close all of this. And the second demo is basically how to add attributes in runtime. This is also something that I see often in the Facebook group. That's why I decided to do this demo. What I'm going to show again is using staff infrastructure, but there is a way to use .NET infrastructure to do basically the same. So you can add an attribute to a POCO class. You have to do reflection and so on and so forth. But actually, the type info object from XAF will make it like super easy. Like in 2 or 3 lines, you can basically add attributes to your application. So let's go back to the persistent classes and let me show you something. This class, as you can see, there is no default class option. So this should not appear in the menu, but it's appearing in the menu. And the question is why? Well, because I'm adding the default class option in runtime. So to do that, again, you go to the module, all these customizations happening at the module level. And here, add default class option. This is like super easy. So again, I'm searching for the type information by the type name, the full type name. I think if the class is defined in the assembly, you can, what happened here? If the type is defined in the assembly, you can basically just go with the short name, but I would suggest you to use the full name all the time. So again, I get the type info, and you have this method, add attribute, and then you pass the new instance of the attribute object. So there is something that you need to remember regarding attributes. They have like a special syntaxes in .NET. Usually you name the class as whatever you want to name it, and then you add the attribute word. And the attribute word is not needed once you put it inside of the braces. Here you don't see it. I don't know why it's not showing like that in the studio, but usually the attribute part shows like a little darker. It means that it's an optional part of the name of the class. It's a strange behavior from .NET that part of the name you can skip it basically. So just to show this working or not, I will comment this out and you will see that we wouldn't have the menu anymore. And when I put it back, we will have the menu. And you can do that with all the possible attributes. In this case, I used the most simple case, which is the full class option, but you can do validations, you can do, you name it, whatever is an attribute you can add in runtime. There is a way to do it with .NET and reflection, but this is way better, actually, it's easier. So let's run this. And even though this is open, there is no navigation menu. So that's an easy way. For example, maybe you have the person class that is defined in, well, we can do that actually. Let's add another type here and let's add an attribute for that type. So let's see. In the constructor, you can do this additional exported types. Let's add type of person. Okay, so this means that it will be included in the process of when SAF create the views and process the model, and when it updates the schema and the database. That's what this line means. So let's do something else. We have now the class included. Now let's put it as navigation item. So basically I will copy this code. And this will be admin to person. And in here, I'm going to find the type in a different way. I'm going to do it by type. So type of person. Now let's call this somewhere. And that somewhere is here. And I will add the other one also. And pass the type info. I think that's it. So let's run this and let's see how it goes. You will see that all my demos for today are how to do stuff with code. I never touch the model at all. Everything that I do is in code, even the model. Okay, so see, now we have the person navigation menu, and we can create person. And that's it. Now we have it in the database. So far, so good. We have the list view and everything. We can even extend this if we want with the other code that I showed you before. So that was basically the second demo, how to add an attribute in runtime. So you can use this, especially in cases like the one that we did with person, that is an object that is defined in an assembly that is already compiled. So when it's your own code, basically, you can just go to the file and put the attribute, right? But if it's something that is defined in someone else's assembly, like this, in this case, you can add attributes like that, like basically with the iType info infrastructure. Well, that's everything for right now. I think it's time for Javier to join. So, Javier.
Yeah, I'm right here. Hello, everyone. Sorry I'm late. Sorry I'm late today. Let me share my screen. I'm happy to see all you guys here. I see a lot of returning XAFers, but I also see a few new. So welcome, Daniel. And let me come back to here. And okay, Jose, what was the first demo that you presented? So we have the attribute in code, and what was the other one?
Extend the persistent classes.
Oh, nice. Okay, so let's do one that I think that is really requested right now. A lot of people are talking about inline edit for SAF Laser, and they are requesting that in a lot of tickets, and I think that that will be coming. It's just not here yet. They expect to release it in the next iteration. It's already in SAF in the DX grid, I believe so. Not 100% sure now, but let's review how we can implement our own solution on that. So we have this inline edit solution here, and actually we can even see it in action. So basically here, as you see, we have the grid, and we can edit it right from here. So Oche, the address, main, the city, whatever. So this is something that is being widely used in SAF Wing, in SAF Web. We have inline edit, we have batch edit, but we still don't have it in Blazor. So how can we go about that? So let's review quickly what we have in here. So we have a Blazor project, and we are going to be using the capability of creating our own custom templates inside every column of the grid. So if we go to the editor, first let's review the business object. So we have a domain object 1. Nothing crazy. It has a name, a city, an address, and zip code. Nothing else. So the things that we have to take a look here is that we're going to be modifying a template for each column because we need that to be an editable template. And in this case, you will see that it's tightly coupled to the address, the name. We even call it cell edit address, cell edit city. But I think that if we're going to do this generic, we will do it by type, like for a string, for datetime, for Boolean, and so on. This is just a sample just to show how it works. And then we have for controller. So basically what the controller is doing is only telling us, okay, we're going to take the DXGrid adapter and we're going to iterate from the columns. And in the case that the column is called postal, the zip code or name or city or address, we're going to use this template instead. We want them to use our own template. And again, this is just for a simple project. If we want to do this generic, it will be in case that the item type is a string, in case that this is the date time, in case that, and we can make an example for that. So in this case, we are going to, of course, disable that they cannot open a detail view because we want the edition to happen on the list view and not double click opening a detail view. But besides that, that's it. We're going to take these templates and use them as our editable columns. So if we go to one of those, so let's start for the one that edit address template, we can see right here that we are using the text box. This is just a string, so we're going to use the text box and we're going to bind it to our address on our business object. So right here we have, as always, this is one thing that you can see along the lines of dependency injection in Blazor. We are injecting our application provider, and with that application provider, we're going to be able to create our application, and with that application create a real object space. And our object space will allow us to go find the object, modify it, commit, and so on. But that's after that, we're going to return our template that basically is just a text box. If we go to the city, same implementation for the text box. So I think this will be, doesn't have to be a different one. But you see right here, we can do anything that we need. We can add a calendar control. We can add a Boolean control. So we basically only have to inject what is the type of control on that template for that grid. Now, if we run this, and let's give it a second. Coming. Hopefully the demo ops that we made today, they're taking a little bit. By the way, that's basically it. We take a controller, we tell them, okay, in this list view, please use my templates for my grid, and we're going to be able to start editing our records in line mode. So let's coming. And here we go. You see, we have our record here with our custom templates, and right here we can edit. And because we are actually committing there, we don't even have to save. It's done by us. Of course, this is just a sample. If we have a big amount of records, we don't want to be committing all the time. We just want to be committing at the end, but then we can actually do another implementation. My point is like we can integrate a DevExtreme grid, we can integrate a Syncfusion grid, or we can use custom templates and only make editable whatever we need to make editable. So that's it for this demo. Let's go to another one.
Before you go to the next demo, Javier, I just want to add my 2 cents in there. And I think this implementation, what I like is that it's short, because I have done the DevExtreme one, and there are a lot of more steps involved, and it's harder to do. So I think if you have like only like 1 or 2 grids that you need to do that, and there's not a huge amount of data, this will be the way to go. It's already there. Why not to use it, right?
Yeah, and again, if you want a really custom implementation, integrate the grid from DevStream. That's a functional grid with all the capabilities, all the features that you need. You can do those things here. And I want to mention, this is really especially important, but that's coming. Like if you see inline raw editing, export in the grid control, they expect to ship that in 22.2. So this is coming soon. This is something that you can use in the meantime until the official implementation gets released. Okay, so another thing will be a type of a master detail. So we want to, in the grid, we know that we have the previous row that we can see more information about that record. We have the master detail view, list view that we still don't have there. So how can we do things around? There are examples about using, again, a dashboard view, putting a list view and a detail view right beside. But another choice will be, and let me go there. Let's run the solution and then we see the implementation. Set a startup project and let's run. Basically, the idea here will be using this grid from DevExpress Blazor by itself without SAF that already have a few functionality that it will be coming soon to SAF, and inject again our own templates. I think that the ability to create our own template is one of the because it's easy and you can do basically anything. Let's give it a second. And in the meantime, we can see the structure of our data. So we have company, department, and branch. We have branch, we have company, and we have department. If you see, they all relate to each other. So a company has a collection of branches and a branch has a collection of departments. So company, branch, department. Those are the three levels of that relationship. If we go to our application, so we're gonna go to company, and we're gonna have a company. We put it Nike, it doesn't matter. And then you can go to your branches, and then you will have the collection for your branches. And inside those branches, you will see the department. So basically, this is a quick visualization for the user who wants to drill down all the relationship that this company has to see how many branches they have, and those branches, how many departments. So you can go and go all those levels and see the information that you need. And of course, you can show, this is, I want to see from the department and the salary of all the employees or whatever. But basically, we still don't have this out of the box, but we can implement it real quick. And it's kind of the same approach that we're gonna have here. So if we see here, we have our company master detail racers, and we see that we have for DX grid, the one for the express, but then we're gonna have more information about it. We have the detailed row template, and in there, we're gonna pass another razor markup with another component that is the branch detail. And if we go to the branch detail, well, we'll have another grid where we have again the detailed row template, and we're gonna have our department detail. So we can go as like in section, one inside the other one inside the other one, the other one inside the other one. So we can go as in depth as we want. But if you see, basically pretty simple. We have our DX grid as we will use in Blazor by itself, because as always we say, Blazor is a Blazor application or regular normal .NET Blazor application. So basically we create a grid and then we put our template there. And that's it. Of course, we have our everything, our model and our lower layer. So this is what it connects with SAF, just the list editor. We have our list editor here. That is the company master detail list editor, that's how we call it. And this is the one who creates through the render our razor and connect that razor with our model that is basically a class. That's it. From there, everything is exactly as we have seen before. There are the four components every time that we create either a property editor, that is list editor, that is the model, the adapter, the render, and the actual list editor, that is the SAF layer. But everything else is exactly the same as we have done with the other list editors. The selected, so this keeps working, the refresh, like all the things that we have to implement in a list editor is exactly the same. The only thing that we need to do is make sure that we create the razor component that we need, and that razor component is the one, let's see it again, that is calling the other component, and that other component is again calling the detail department detail, and at the end, the detail department detail doesn't have that row edit because we don't have to go to that. There is no other layer. That's the last layer. We go company, branch, department. And with just that, voila, we have our implementation that I think that is really neat and it's really short and to the point. And this, you can use it with as many data as you want because it's a normal list editor that is bringing. Of course, you need to think like we have master, detail, and grandchild. So if you are bringing 2 million records, you need to keep aware of that. But again, that's a good problem to have. Okay, so that's the other. And if you guys have any questions or anything you want to cover, just let us know. But that's another example that I want to show. Now, one that is not actually related.
Javier, you want to continue or should I do the next one?
Yeah, please do the next one and then I come back.
Yeah, so I will share my screen. So I will bore you guys with more code because mine is none of mine is like UI related. But anyway, there is people who have fun like that. So this is one of the things that I kind of always use. If you have followed the meetups in general, you know that I'm not a model-oriented person. So in this case, what we're going to do is extend the model in code. Usually, like this doesn't happen too much anymore for us, but long time ago we need to make most of the systems in Spanish. When I started in SAF, was making systems in Spanish, so I need to inject everything that I use to the model because right now, if you just started with SAF or maybe just started or like maybe 5 years or 7, something like that, the model is working fine. But when I started, the model, if you write one wrong comma, it will break. So it was really difficult at that moment. So what we tried to do at the beginning when SAF was starting was to do as much as we can in code. So if there is a new project structure, solution structure or whatever, we only copy the classes from the file system, we create a new solution and we paste it there. So that's why I'm kind of used to do almost everything in code and not in the model. So, okay, usually you need to, if you're doing applications in several languages, you actually need to make sure that you display your messages in both languages, right? Or as many languages as you have. So the way to do that is to basically inject them in the model. So for that, I have, what is it? Is, let's see. Well, I will find it from the module, from here. Okay, so let me show you the class. 1 second. Is this one. So basically, there is a way that you can extend your model. We can open this. This is the official documentation. So let's see. So basically, there are several ways that you can extend your model in code. All of them with this model generator update. Model node generator updater is like a really specific name. So there are like a lot of instances of this type of class. So the one that I'm going to show you today is for the model localization node generator. So basically we implement the generic of that and then we inherit, and then we have this method, update node. In this method, what we need to do is look for a node that we're looking for. In this case, we're looking for the node myStrings. And if it doesn't exist, we create the node here. And then once we have a node, we can continue adding subnodes. So basically here, I'm just creating a node named myStrings, and to that node, I will add the string hello SAF world. So funny that it is, you don't need to run this code at all. Once you compile, when SAF tries to open the model editor, it will execute this updater. The only thing that you need to do is wire it. So for that, you override this method and add a new instance to all the other updaters that exist within SAF. So if you open the model here, it will execute that code actually. And you will see that the node myStrings is here. So whatever you need to say, message that you want to display to the user, so they are not hard code, you can put them in the updater, and then you can change that in the model if you want, like in the software, like in runtime, basically. So, okay, we have this code. We actually don't even need to execute it. I'm just going to add another node. So you can see that I'm not doing that with the visual editor. I'm doing that in code. So I'm going to add a new one. Is this one that I'm going to get. Let's put it here, and this will be Hola Mundo. Let's add that here also. Okay, so that's it. I'm just going to compile this and open the model editor again. And you will see that without having to add it in the UI, the node will be there. See, now we have Hola Mundo here. So if you create a different version of the model, like in a different language, like Spanish, those values will be copied there, and you can translate it automatically or by hand as you want, basically. So now that we have that, it's like, what do we do with that? Well, I have a little controller for that here. And let me show you the controller first. Here. So for that, what you need to use is actually something called the caption helper. So the caption helper basically is a utility that will get the right caption from the localization node. So it means that if you are running the Spanish version of the model, it will get the value that's in Spanish. If you're running the English version, you're going to get the value that is in English. So you don't have to do code for that. You just tell it like which node is the parent and then which node is the child, and you will get that text. So let's run this. Let's put a debug point here. Let's see, get node value here. So in this case, we got the value hello from SAF. So the overload that we're using is, we pass the parent node, which is myStrings. Then we pass the node that we want to get and the text that we will show if we cannot find that text in the model. So if we couldn't find this, we will show this instead. But in the end, we found it. So see, hello, SAF. So let's continue. And you will see the toast here. So that's how you basically save your messages in the application model, so you don't have to hard code them basically in the code. And before, like in normal Windows Forms application, you used to use resources, which also is somehow like a compiled way. But this is way better, I would say. Is more versatile, basically. So that's everything for this demo. Javier, back to you. Javier, you unmute.
Yeah, just realized. Yeah, I got it. So perfect. And those customization in the model, they are really useful, especially when you are trying to build something that it would be reusable across your couple of your SAP solutions. So I have seen, for example, font size. You can put that a controller that extend the model and all your projects. Then you add that controller in a NuGet package or something, and then your model gets updated, and you can just say my font size would be this size, or something for your list view that you say I'm gonna do a bulk edit, or I'm going to do any type of functionality that you believe that it could be reusable, that the user can turn on, turn off. They is really useful to use those extended models. So let's see something that I think that is really nice. Is of course not in the shiny new Blazor, but I believe that it's useful for people who want to do a quick data input. And most of the time, that's one of the things that clients want to have is, so let's say a technician or a salesman, they want to do their orders real quick, and they just want to add some information and add it quickly and get the order done, the invoice done. So for example, we have this software application, and of course we know that we have the batch edit, but how can we do it better? So if you see here, we remove everything about here, about editing, about new, or those inline actions, and we just basically added a grid, and with some JavaScript, we just right away you can start typing. So you can put any information that you want, and it follows you through. You see, it's creating the records right away. You don't have to wait. You are there when you need it and go for there. So this, of course, is done with a controller that is focusing on that list view. But we're first checking that it's in batch edit, because that allows to already have more functionality and especially save everything at once. And then we're going to be able to, when we are start editing, do some JavaScript about it. One of the challenges here is that the on-view controls created happens a lot of times. Happens when you're creating the parent, happens when you're creating the collection, the child. So we need to put a flag there. This is a kind of an ugly workaround, but it definitely works. And with that one, we just call some JavaScript, and we just basically add with the batch edit API a new row in code. So that allows that we can, as soon as we move from the next line, it creates a new one and allows you to right away move fast. This is simple, but I think that this is really nice, because sometimes you just need that. You just need, give me all the data, give me the fast, and good to go. So, well, that's basically that one. And let's go to another one that I think that is also really nice. So in this case, will be
here. Sorry, I want to stop you, like, because you say something really important at the beginning. Most of this is new, shiny and bright. It's not the newest thing, but it's useful, and it was there like since a long time ago. No. So it is a way to say, like, remember that there is a lot of useful stuff lying around. The support center is right now it's a treasure place with so many examples and everything. It's like you just need to dig enough, right? That's the main thing.
Exactly. I remember, Jose, when I started, Dev Express had the PDF version of the support center of the whole documentation. Probably they still have. And I download that PDF to one tablet. I was reading it completely without even actually doing the code. I later on, I was actually trying all the samples and everything, but just reading all the documentation. And from there to today, the documentation has improved 2 million times. Right now, if you see, they have the Azure deployment recommendation, they have a unit testing, they have a lot of more documentation. So it would be nice to come back and to read everything, because it's a good refresher. But in this case, again, we don't want, we are betting 99% everything on Blazor. But we cannot forget our legacy apps. We cannot forget everything that we have in the past. And there is a lot of great things here and there. For example, the other example we come up across for a client request, a student was asking not long ago. And basically it was, how can we execute a callback after the login? In the same moment that after they log in, we want to execute a JavaScript and then go process something on the server and bring the value back. So in this case, we actually come up with a really interesting corner scenario, because when we are logging in the application logon, we are in the login.aspx template. So we are basically here. And you see after the logging in happens, it changed to the default template, to the default ASP template. And you can even see it here. If you put a breakpoint here on the frame and we explore for the template, you see that it's already ASP, the default ASP. It's not the login one, even if we just logging in. So basically we needed to find the place where we're going to register the script right here in the startup navigation. And then we are going to just register the handler and the build control creator of the method. And of course, Jose has a great article about raising callbacks in SAP Web. Basically, we implement this interface and register the script on the build controls creator and then call it and process the action here. So we have a breakpoint here in the process action, but if we continue, you will see that it goes to the first view, and right there, the script is executed. And in this case, let's go up. So we see these functions. We have this raise SAF callback function. This is the one who actually is executing. It's telling, oh, hey, execute this script right now. And we're passing the handler of the script. That is the one that we register here. And we're sending this string, hello SAF from JavaScript. I want to mention in this specific place, the hello SAF from JavaScript, this could be anything. This could be a function getting the time zone, a function getting the language of the browser, the function calling latitude and longitude. So we need something from the client. So we call it from here, and that is going to be sent to us. And then we can process it here. If you see, we have the parameter hello from JavaScript. And in this case, just for like demo purposes, we are just calling an alert and showing it to the user. But right here, we can do anything in our backend that we need. So if we click continue, we're going to have this alert. Like say, okay, the script will execute and the parameter that we get was hello from JavaScript. Right here, this is really useful. We use it for a latitude, longitude. So we know the geolocation of the client, but we will use it again for time zone or anything else. This, interesting enough, we have been using SAP forever, and it took us a little bit to figure it out that the template was changing and that we could not use the application logger on in the moment. So we are still learning, and so
sorry that I cut you off, but there is something that I want to mention, that the code might look a little bit strange, but that is not SAP fault. Web forms works like that, even in a more obvious way, actually. So there are things that you need to depend on the platform, in this case, web forms. So you need to do the things in the web forms way. If this was Blazor, then it will be totally different way. Actually, to interact with JavaScript in Blazor is the most simple thing ever, actually. But here it's not like that. You need to depend on those registered startup script, which who knows what it means, actually, startup where, right? So that's a web form thing. It's not like something that is related to SAP, actually. So even if the serious is web forms in that case.
Yeah, exactly. One thing that I honestly never like too much is that we are a C# developer. So this name convention for myself is register startup script was always confused for me, because for me registering is not executing. But then here we're actually calling, hey, execute the callback. We need to get something in the server. We need to process it. So a little bit confusing, but as I always say, everything is difficult until you learn it. After that, it becomes easy. So here we go. I want to also show another example of things that we can do And basically in this one, we're not go too deep in the code because this is a lot more comprehensive. This is a complete control from subscription using a spreadsheet and doing a lot of functionality behind it. But I want to show because I think that is a nice one. And I hope that at some point the XAFers spreadsheet give us all this functionality. Let's give it a second. And guys, now that today we are not that many, if you guys have any questions, anything you want to discuss or want to see, just unmute your mic and let us know. Okay, and we have a crazy password over in this, so let me look for it. Sorry. Almost there. Here we go. Okay, and we're gonna go to pre-dispatch, and you will see here that we have, there is no image here, but basically it's a screenshot spreadsheet. But if we click on it, as you see, we have a complete spreadsheet control, a spreadsheet Excel type with data formulas and everything inside your application. So basically, this is a client that they are used to do a lot of things on Excel. So they just want to get their same Excel, have it here, change a few things, and email them. So I think that this is looking really good. I know that requests for clients are always unpredictable, but I'm really excited about how this is ending up. But you can see a complete control. This is a complete JavaScript control. There's a lot of things going on here, but it's so seamlessly integrated with Blazor that it's a beauty.
To be honest, Javier, that is not like a crazy solution. In general, if you remember, we do have a project that is like a detailed view property page, or that is a spreadsheet. And it's funny that you do custom systems to replace Excel, but then you want your custom system to behave like Excel in the front end, right? So imagine for the people who spend dragging controls on Windows Forms. You drag controls, but they want Excel type of UI. And also, we were working on this morning with some other people from our team. And in the end, you can pass an Excel file or an array of objects, persistent objects. You can show them there like as if they were, just rows for the Excel file. So I think that the integration with spreadsheet control is something that you have to have in your hand, because if you show it to the customer, they will say, yes, I want that. They consider it easy to navigate with the keyboard, I think. I think that's the reason. So, well, now it's working on Blazor. So,
nice.
Most people will have that.
Okay, so I'm not sure if you have the report.
I have no, I will do one more. Then maybe you can do one more, and then I will show the report analyzer, not running completely, but what we have so people see like what we're working on.
Perfect.
So I will do the last demo, then you jump to another demo, and then we show the report analyzer. So let's share here. This one. Okay, so this is the last demo for tips and tricks before I show the report analyzer. But what I want to show is, I think I have this open somewhere in Chrome. So remember that in the last meetup, we happened to have a surprise guest that we actually didn't even expect it, but it was a nice surprise to have, Robert Anderson. long time ago, I found this code, and in general, when I found it, I was doing like this type of process, and I guess a lot of or XAFers you like go through the same process. Is sometimes you need to generate a lot of data, like temporary data, and then delete and recalculate against that data, and so on and so forth. So you do a lot of temporary calculations in code, and then you save the persistent objects, and you need to delete that. So most of the ORMs, or I think every ORM that I know so far, in order to update or delete an object, you need to load it first, and then update or delete it, right? So especially if you're using soft delete, you're basically updating. So in this case, basically 10 years ago, Robert Anderson made this extension, which I just stole today, and it's not the first time. So here he proposed to make an extension to have additional methods so you're able to delete without loading objects. So there is another case he have around here, the fast update, which is also good because you don't need to load the object to do the update. So that's also really nice. But this is the one that I'm going to show. I just wanted to give the credits to him and basically show his blog. But this code, even though it's like 10 years old, there's only one modification that I did. Is like basically this line 11. There's a different overload now, so I needed to use that. So let's come here. So let's go to customers. So let's create some customers. Generate records. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 6,000. Let's reload this, maybe a few more. So after a while, it's going to be a lot. It's a lot already. It takes time. And here I have them in the view. If you want to delete them from code, it means that you need to load them and then delete them. So that takes time. So let me show you what I did here. Basically, I got the code from Robert. What are the extensions here? And then I created this extension. So what he proposed at that moment was for XPO. And at that moment, actually, SAF was XPO only, or the first version of Entity Framework was introduced around that moment. So this is his extension, and here you can see his blog about it. So basically, his extension is extensions of the session object. So we don't have the session object in SAF. It's not common anymore to use it because we don't have only XPO, we have Entity Framework. So I basically add a second extension for the I object space. So the I object space now, it has a method like delete from TIFF, from generic. And this will basically cast the object space inside to XP object space, get the session, and then execute the second one here. So let's go to the fast delete controller. And here I have a simple action. I have the action to generate records. I generated 1,000 records this time. And here I basically, with the object space, I use delete, set the type, and I can set a criteria operator if I need. I can just delete all of them if I want, or just set a criteria. And in this case, I'm deleting all of them that are active, which is basically all of them actually. And then see how long it took. So let's go somewhere here. I'm going to go to a view that is not customers. And then I'm going to do fast delete. It took 178 milliseconds to delete that. So you don't have to read it and then delete them and then commit. A normal delete will take at least 10 seconds. So see how fast can it get it? It's not even 1 second. And the same case goes for the updates. Just to put this on the chart, I will get it. All the code that I showed today is in this repo is public, so I will paste it on the chat so everyone can go and take the code and take a look if something that is interesting for you. So Javier, if you are ready for another demo, I will start getting the report benchmark tool that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me just find it here. Okay. Okay, it's loading. Now let me share my screen. Okay. Going to the other monitor. Okay, here we go. So basically, this is one example about exporting the grid. And basically, it's, in those cases, when you have a huge amount of data on your grid, and maybe your design of your RM is not the greatest one, and you have too many reference property, and you have too many relationship, and it's loading more data than it should, and things start to slow down. And we have seen clients do something like, okay, if the amount of records that you have is bigger than 4,000, tell, hey, please use filters to reduce the export. Don't export 60,000 records because it's logging the application. And I don't think that that's the best user experience. We need to check our RM for optimizing the data loading and so on. But sometimes we are already in that position. We already have our grid loading more data than we should, and we already need to fix that issue, and the clients need to export that customer list. So in this case, we actually, the express have a ticket about that, and they actually suggested this approach, and we tried it out, and we have been implemented with a couple of clients, and it's a beauty in my opinion. So basically, this is a quick example, and let's run it, let's see it in action, and then let's review the code so we can understand what we're trying to achieve here. The idea here is that we're going to be in control of what we want to load. And there are a couple ways to do that. But in this case, we decided to use a data view from SAF. If we start seeing the code from the export, basically we're taking the grid list editor, and we're taking the columns that are visible, because those are the only columns that we want to export. We want to export the grid, but we don't want to load any more data than we need to. In that case, we're gonna take the visible columns, and then we need to iterate from every of those visible columns, because we need to know what property type is, if it's a string, if it's a date time, if it's a Boolean, etc. And we need to know what is the field name. So it should be the field name and not the action, because of course, you know that we're in the model and we can actually have a field that is called total, but in the UI is total per se. I don't know, any other captions. So in that regard, we can have our application here. Let's log in. And this works also for Blazor. This works for Windows. This is not a web version specific. But in this case, we have all these records, and let's think that we have here 2 million records. And of course, we can prove that. We can create with Bogus package, we can create 2 million fake records and do the same thing. But basically here, to show the demo, we have the export action from SAP. And this one have all the choices that we want. And in this case, we are only exporting to Excel. But right here, if you know, export reports have the capability to export to CSV, to export for PDF, and to anything else that we want. So basically, we'll be just creating a switch or an if here that change what is the type of exporting that you're doing. But with that in mind, we're going to iterate for all those columns and create two lists, one of property type and one of the field names. And the first thing that we tried that it was just doing a select. So we're going to do a select directly SQL query and kind of concatenate all that field names to create the query that we need to execute on our server. But this came with another problem then. What happens when we have a relationship, when we have a reference property? So we even start doing those joins, join the other table and bring me this from the other table. But it becomes a little more cumbersome than it needs. So what we did is we let XPO and SAF take care of it. So the way that we were around it was, again, we have to create the concatenation of all those fields because that's how the create data view works. We're going to pass what is the type of object. We're going to pass all the fields that we need. And if we need any criteria, in this case, we want everything. We are not filtering by any criteria. With that, we're going to get all data view that it will have all the information that we have. We have all those properties already loaded for us, but only those, not any extra information. And then we're going to create a reporting code. We're going to assign the data view as the data source of that report, and we're going to create the report. And if we click F12, this is a report completely created in code. You can see the page header band. We can see the table. We can see every field is going to become a cell. And then you can even see down below the expression binding in the before print event that actually will take the field name and map it to the field that comes from the data view and so on. And the great thing about, because this is a report, you can export it to all the fields, all the formats that the report support. But not only that, you can change the font. You can make it as customized as you want. You can push a page header. You can put a footer, a format, a string of everything. You can do anything there. But with that one, we create a report. We put a name to the report, and then we define export option. In this case, we're going to export it as a Excel file. And then, of course, we're going to use a memory string to allow the user to download that. One thing that is important every time that we're doing this type of exporting that we go from the client to the server, we need to go to our action. That is, this is on export action. Even if we have a crazy idea, we didn't change. But we need to put the East Coast back required to true. If you don't put East Coast back required to true, it won't do nothing. It will just stay there. It will don't know that you have to go and do that, get that data from the server. So with that, now we can export. And if you see, it created a data view, it created a report, downloaded from us. And if we open the report, here we go. We have a report with all data exported. And this works great for a lot of records. Even when the export action from SAF is not able to performing this in optimal time. So that's it for this demo, Jose, and let me know.
Okay, so one sec, I'm almost ready. Just let me share my screen.
So hey, Jose, let me check. No, just keep saying that the link from your.
I just check it's valid. So
yeah, maybe it's private because I cannot see it either.
Maybe what?
Maybe it's private instead of public.
I thought it was public, but anyway, if not, I will change it. But let's continue. I will drop you from sharing, Javier.
Go for it.
Okay, so here I'm going to show you one of our internal tools. I'm really proud of this tool. Actually, with Javier, we always try to think how we can make, how can we improve the process of software development. And usually, most of the time, people come to us for our expertise. Well, both of us are like MVPs from Developer Express. Javier is Microsoft MVP also. And well, like we kind of do have experience. We do this like almost 24/7 because we're in different time zones. So there is always someone writing SAF code in our office or Developer Express code in our office. So, but there is sometimes that you need to show your expertise with numbers, basically. So lately, maybe last 2 years, we have basically open a small report department in your office. There is people that is only handling reporting and reporting benchmark. And also with that goes with dashboards also. So a lot of customers come to us like, my report is slow, XPO is slow, what can we do? So in one of the other meetups, we show the tool that we have to measure the performance of the queries in SAF. So in this case, we're going to show the performance of the reports. These are extra reports, but this can easily be applied to SAF reports because they are basically the same. So the idea here is that you have one connection or X amount of connection. And once you have that, basically you create databases. For example, let's say that you have database A with one schema and with X configuration. And then you have database B with the same schema, but a different configuration. Maybe the indexes are in different way in the second database. And you want to see and check if you run a report with a set of indexes, how will it run, how fast it is. And if you change the indexes to a different way, how fast can it be? So here you have this section to set up as many connections as you want or databases as you want. So then the tool is a little bit simple. We just have something like this where we load the layout for the report. We are able to set the data as basically as XML, like data set from ADO.NET or JSON. And in this new version, we can actually switch the connection. We have the default connection because what this tool does, and for that I will show you a different report, is it analyzes the report itself. So for example, this one, it says that inside there are 6 queries. Here are the queries, and you see the parameters for each query. Then you will see basically all the possible expressions in each of the objects of the report. So you can easily see like X rate for the report. You don't have to go object by object, checking the expression and so on and so forth. You have everything in text. We used this before because we were doing a migration from Crystal reports to Extra reports, and we need to have a comparison. Like we have the Crystal here with these formulas, and we have the Extra report with these formulas, and see that it match. So here is basically the composition of the bands of the report, all the binding expressions, and so on and so forth. And in the end, you have the report parameters. This report is a little bit complex, so that's why you see so much information. So then you have the parameters for the report. Let me see if this has this information. So also we check some things that can bring rendering problems. So if the label is set as it can grow, it will have to recalculate the height of the band and a lot of other controls. So that will take time. So we're checking for some special things that will make the rendering of the report slower. And also we have some diagnostic snapshots. So in here you can see in the header, well, in here we have not associated this with the database connection, but you can see that the report executed 532 methods inside for rendering. That can be anything from getting the style, evaluating the expressions, writing the context. Maybe there is an image and it's in a URL, so getting the image from the URL. So basically it means that 532 things happen inside of the report. And also we have, well, like the count of each of the methods that was executed. Reports execute the methods more than one time, because like writing band, if there are like 10 pages with 10 bands, you will write that 100 times basically. So you can see how long it took to execute each of the methods, and this is the total time. So for example, this was 99 times, then this is the total time. So 0.08 milliseconds. So it's really, really fast. What we realized when we saw this tool, I mean, the results of this tool actually, is that the rendering in .NET is really, really, really fast. And Developer Express have done an amazing job doing it the most efficient way possible, because that is kind of really low level code in general. So kudos for them. It's like, I'm also surprised on their expertise in general, how much they know about the .NET framework. Then you can see the percentage that this took from the total render time of the report. So as you can see, most of the time was querying the data. So in general, what we managed to understand from this report is that basically the queries, it has 6 queries, are too slow. There is something in the queries that maybe you did the wrong join or the wrong index. So people try to think, okay, there is something wrong in the rendering. Did I make some mistake or something? But no, from most of the reports that we have analyzed so far with this tool, we came to the conclusion that most of the time in general is querying the data source. We don't have the new results here because I don't have the last data from this test. But here, this took 22 milliseconds. So 22,000 milliseconds, basically 22 seconds. But now that we have that information, we were able to reduce this one from 22 to 3. And just opening the connection takes 2 seconds. So we reduce it to 1, basically. So once you can prove it with numbers, you know where to attack, how to improve the performance, and how to show it to the customer, of course. There are some things that we wanted to include in this tool, but we have not, because it's not a standard in general in the database world. Is okay, we have the rendering time of the UI. Basically, this is the .NET runtime rendering, and how the report is executing the methods and events of the report. It's a lot of really useful information there. But right now, the optimization happened basically by changing the queries. So we did it in a separate way, but we are thinking about including that it will show you to see the execution plan of these queries. So you see in the order that the query is resolved and how much you can improve in time. So basically, once you have the numbers, you know where to spend your time and what do you need to improve. So to be able to reduce something from 22 seconds to 3 seconds, and you can make it even shorter, like 1.5 seconds, because as I told you, from those 3 seconds, 2 is opening the connection. So if you pass a connection that is already alive, you save those 2 seconds. So 2 seconds doesn't sound as much, but it's 66% of the 3 total seconds. And it's like 1,000 times faster than the 22 seconds. So once you're showing this to customers, every second counts. If you can save like 500 milliseconds, then it will pay in the long run. Well, so that's everything for me for this tool. If someone have any questions about it, or then you have like some ideas, you can write us, me or Javier, or write something in the Facebook group, and we will answer any questions that you have.
Okay, guys, so thank you for being here. I think that will be all for today, unless you guys have any questions or anything you want to discuss, but please stay tuned for the next one. The next one will be really good because we're going to be discussing about software API, and there is a lot of great interesting things there about doing custom endpoints, about the security system integrated with the software API. Maybe by next month we have more because there are a huge amount of features that the Dev Express team want to integrate. They want to integrate file data, they want to integrate reports, they want to integrate dashboards, they want to integrate a lot of things. So we are definitely excited for the next meetup. We have a month to do more testing, to prepare more demos. If you guys have any questions, a specific question, or if you have any experience, if you guys are using it, let us know. And thank you for being here. So Daniel, feel free to email us about our courses and everything else, and we discuss that over there. But as always, thank you for being here.
No,
thank
hold
you
on. Javier, before we go,
picture.
The picture. I have pictures for every meeting, so I just feel like for the last meeting was the first one that I didn't have anything. So if everyone wants to turn on the camera, if you don't feel shy, so 1, 2, and 3. That's it, Gustavo. You came just in time. But I'll take another one just in case. 1, 2, 3. Great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, and see you on the next one.
Bye.
Okay. Nice to meet you. Bye.